they exactly say this town? Hialeah?
Hialeah.
Hialeah, Florida is actually part of Miami, right?
And it's only a 4-year-old case. That might be almost the youngest one we've done.
Well, you know, a lot of people think that a cold case has to be something that's, 20 to 30 years old, and we all know it just simply means when all leads are exhausted.
On March 17th, 2011, 2 women passing through an alley in Hialeah, Florida, came upon the body of Norman West.
He's just minding his own business, not a harmful person whatsoever.
Norman had a big family. He was a son, a brother, and an uncle. He was a little down on his luck, but he was just starting to get back on his feet when he was killed. The crime scene doesn't help us much.
No, it doesn't, because we don't really have a crime scene. We just simply have an alleyway where his body was basically just thrown out.
Like trash.
Yeah. Norman's killer left little forensic evidence behind at the dump site. But police might have caught their car on camera.
The other thing is that one of our suspects is an ex-Miami cop himself.
Now, that could be where some of our challenges come in.
Nobody deserves to be thrown away like that. Whoever did this must have made mistakes, and if we can find them, maybe we can get justice for Norman West.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims.
Feel that air, girly?
Doesn't feel like January, does it?
No, it's my kind of place. Hi.
Alex Castaneda.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Yolanda, nice to meet you.
How big is Hialeah?
Area-wise, it's probably about, 25 square miles? Around. Hialeah is pretty much a blue-collar city. It's a busy city as far as crime, and they get anywhere on average between 10 and 20 homicides a year.
You've been working on the case since the beginning.
Yes, ma'am. Well, as a homicide detective, you'd like to solve every case you get and bring closure to the individual's family.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing, sir? Alex. Alex Castaneda.
Steve Spingola, nice to meet you, sir. Detective Castaneda and Detective Garcia. They have done a great job in what I call memorializing this case. They've gone out, they've investigated it to the nth degree. This case is going to be very tough, but I give them kudos for going ahead and doing it.
Why don't you tell us about the victim?
His name is Norman West. He was basically down on his luck, was homeless for a while. His family took him in. He was living with the sister of his mother.
Norman had been out of work, but he was turning things around by taking odd jobs, doing gardening and construction.
Everyone you spoke to spoke well of him. Didn't really have any enemies, didn't really have any confrontations with anybody.
Norman spent his whole life in Miami. His father was murdered when he was younger, and it's heartbreaking to see that tragic kind of history repeat itself. Walk us through that day when y'all get the call.
The date was March 17th, 2011. It was in the mid to late afternoon area, and individuals were leaving work in the alleyway behind a warehouse.
Oh my God, tiene sangre, a él le hicieron algo. Es un hombre, sí, es un hombre. Y tiene algo, tiene sangre en el pecho.
Nobody observed any type of suspicious vehicle or person in the area. So units were dispatched out there, and when they arrived, they locate an underwear. And it was immediately apparent that it was a homicide.
Norman had been shot twice in the head, close contact with a medium caliber weapon. No shell casings or blood spatter were found at the scene, suggesting he was killed somewhere else and then brought to the alley.
We pulled surveillance video to see if we could capture what occurred, and we do capture a vehicle. It was a silver-colored car, and when the car enters the alleyway, it will make a U-turn, and we basically missed the tag on the vehicle by approximately a foot.
So the video doesn't show a body being pushed out or taken out?
It goes out of camera frame.
Okay.
If that car had stopped to dispose of Norman's body just a few yards closer to the camera, this wouldn't be a cold case. But that's why we're here.
Okay, y'all want to start working on our suspect board?
Sure.
Okay, let's start with Larry.
That's his cousin.
Yeah, Norman's living at his mother's home.
On the day that Norman was murdered, Larry Jackson asked Norman to come to his duplex to rake leaves about 4 o'clock. When police questioned neighbors, a witness said he saw a light-colored vehicle pull up to Norman. Norman entered the car and it drove off. At first, the police believed that Larry would be especially helpful to the investigation.
Larry Jackson is a retired police officer from the City of Miami Police Department. And we decided to reach out to him to see if he could give us a baseline on Norman. So we bring him in, and he gives us an alibi that he was at a park with a young lady. Doesn't want to provide the young lady's name out of respect for her because she's married.
And did he say that in a way that made you believe it?
No, I was a little skeptical. I mean, it's basic information.
Okay.
Towards the end of the interview, he requests to make the claim on the insurance policy.
Larry was carrying a $100,000 life insurance policy on Norman, which is kind of odd, because usually that's the kind of policy you would take out on your spouse or on your parent, not a healthy 33-year-old cousin. Purchases insurance, when is it?
725.10. That's $100,000.
Larry is an ex-cop. He's recently retired, and there's no worse suspect you could ever have than a police officer, because they know what a prosecutor does to make a case. So you are dealing with the enemy.
Come to find out, his niece had also taken out a life insurance policy on Norman.
All right, LaTarsha, what was her job?
She was a sergeant in the Department of Corrections, Florida Department of Corrections. She's Norman's cousin, lived at the same home.
I wonder if she resented him living there with Grandma.
His aunt?
His aunt, her grandma.
From speaking to them, they were all bothered that he was there, basically. They consider him as a freeloader.
Okay, what else?
Has a huge life insurance policy on him.
Okay, and she purchased it how long before our murder?
About 2 months and 3 weeks.
Right.
LaTarsha had her own $200,000 life insurance policy on Norman. But was Norman making the kind of financial contribution to the household to warrant that? Or could there have been something else motivating the policy?
How much were her premiums a month? About $400 a month? Don't you think that's kind of significant? $400 a month is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Neither LaTarsha or Larry's policies were paid out after the murder because it's still an open investigation. The question is, why were either of them carrying insurance on Norman? And is it possible they were working together to kill him? Who do y'all want to do? Richard, Scott?
We're not gonna have a picture for him.
That's okay, let's just do it over here. And who is he, Alex?
He is Margot's husband.
Norman was having an affair with a married woman named Margot Scott, who he was with up until that afternoon of his murder. They were married, right, when this happened?
Yes,
Whose money was going to buy Norman clothes and stuff, his or hers?
his.
Did he say in his statement that he didn't even know about the affair? Do you believe that?
If he knew, he kept it under wraps, or he didn't want to publicly put it out there.
Okay.
Okay, but you had to have asked yourself, okay, is he a jealous husband?
He was the muscle to a major drug dealer in the north side of Miami.
There you go.
This case has no DNA, very little physical evidence, and an ex-cop possibly right in the middle of it. Plus, this is a big city with a low-profile victim and a circumstantial case. It's no surprise that this case did go cold, but we're going to try and fix it.
There's a lot of good information still here. You did a good job of documenting and preserving a lot of this type of stuff. I think we can do this.
Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Larry. Nice to meet you.
Same to you.
Cheryl is Norman's sister. Thank you for meeting with us. Cheryl has had a lot of tragedy in her life.
What we're going through and what we've been going through, I don't want nobody else to go through.
Can you tell us about Norman? What was he like?
A pain as usual, big brothers. But he was okay. He played football all through high school. We was always at his games. He would have been 37 or 38. Never been married, never had a chance to get married. Always wanted kids, but unfortunately, they killed that. Him and my mom started me thinking about cosmetology. He was like, you know, you should go to school for it. And I thought about it years later.
Norman told you that?
Yeah, him and her. But then she got sick, so I stopped. Every time she got sick, I had to stop what I was doing, and I was seeing about her as time went on. Finally, I did.
Your mom raised all of y'all here?
Yeah, she's from New York.
Okay.
She came down here and met my father, and unfortunately, he was murdered as well.
You're a strong lady.
I guess I get it from her.
Do you remember back to the day that your mom was first told about what happened to Norman?
We were home, I think just sitting around watching movies and talking. And she kept saying she feels sad and gloomy. She said later something's not right. It didn't dawn on us at that point in time, while she kept saying that, they was killing him then. We got a knock on the door. It was Tasha and Larry's mother.
And when you say Tasha, you mean LaTarsha?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they came together to your mother's house.
Mm-hmm. To tell us that he has been murdered. He has been found shot up in Hialeah. My mom kept crying and crying and said, only if I would have answered that last call. But she was too sick and weak. That last time he called, and after that, no more calls from him.
Well, Cheryl, we're going to talk to all the people on Alex's list and hope that something new comes up and try and make the case as strong as possible. And we don't want to break your heart. We're going to try our very hardest, you know that.
Yeah.
Cheryl still wants to believe that this case can be solved, but she's lost a lot of hope. And it's hard to imagine how someone could take all the pain and suffering she has and not feel like she does. Stay safe.
I will.
And it makes it that much more potentially heartbreaking to open up a case again and get their hopes up, even though you try not to. And it kind of scares you because that's what you're doing. Even though you tell them not to get their hopes up, they always do.
Here's our duplex. Our victim, Norman West, was last seen alive by a witness who spotted him raking leaves outside of his cousin Larry's duplex.
So the leave raking would have been taking place where?
Right
here?
all in here. Norman is here around 4:30, and the car comes in, and Norman gets in. The witness saw Norman being driven away. The problem is we don't know what happened between that moment and when Norman's body was discovered in the alley about an hour later. Unfortunately, we don't really know where our crime occurred. Mr. West's body was dumped, which is a horrible thing that they would kill him and then just, throw him out like trash in the back alleyway. The alley where he was discovered was located behind a factory building in an industrial part of town located about 6 miles from the duplex.
Hey, lead the way.
Maybe this location could tell us something about how Norman was murdered.
Norman, the victim, was located in this...
We can theorize how he was killed based on the trajectory of the gunshot wounds to Norman's skull. Our victim had 2 gunshot wounds. You've got one into his cheek. And then when he takes that shot, it's kind of like this. Well, now with his head being turned a little bit like that, it's a perfect shot for this back one right here. Very, very close range. It sounds like somebody maybe would be sitting in a car next to him. The driver of the vehicle could have easily reached over and shot Norman in the passenger seat. Some of the things to talk about is the fact that he's missing his pants and his shoes.
And he's taking the pants off because he can worry about blood spatter.
And I think you really can't remove his pants without removing the shoes, so they're not going to put the shoes back on.
Clothes. In any case, after Norman's killer shot him, they needed to figure out how to dispose of his body.
We believe that the vehicle entered this way.
Okay.
It's traveling up the alley.
Police believe the killer's vehicle entered the alley from the street, turned around and headed back out, stopping briefly to drop off Norman's body along the way. It's a theory supported by a pair of surveillance cameras, fixed at the point where the vehicle turned around.
Tries to turn around, doesn't have the turn radius, can't make the full turn, then he backs up, goes out of the frame, and then starts to head back south through the alley.
Where's the camera?
Right there.
Okay, so it misses part of it.
Right.
The vehicle had no front license plate. And due to the angle of the security cameras, a blind spot between them and the car's position during its 3-point turn, the rear license plate is never clearly visible. Police believe the dumping of Norman's body then happened around the corner and out of view entirely. So if you stop your car, you've got this really big tree right here who's giving a lot of coverage. Your car's giving you coverage.
Correct.
You take the body out and just throw it down. Anybody from the street is never going to see what you're doing.
No.
It's easy to see why Norman's killer chose this alley. It allows for a quick getaway and is usually deserted. But they made at least one crucial mistake: timing.
It was quitting time, so you have a lot of pedestrian traffic. We have probably about 5-6 minute window between the vehicle coming into the alley and the first 911 call.
The killer may have gotten lucky with their license plate, but with that surveillance video and the discovery of the body just minutes later, we can construct the timeline for Norman's murder. God, that is such a close timing. In order to build up a timeline leading to Norman's murder, we can examine his cell phone records. Any incoming or outgoing calls should tell us who he was in contact with during his final hours.
The last phone calls that are received by the victim prior to his pickup.
Right before we think the murder happened.
Yes. We trace it back, and those 2 calls are from the track phone. Basically a, pay-as-you-go type phone.
TracFone is a brand of prepaid cell phone. Criminals often use prepaid phones, also called burner phones, to commit crimes because they're cheap and difficult to trace, since users don't need to create an account with the phone company.
Furthermore, those 2 calls from that track phone are deleted from the victim's phone, the actual physical phone.
It's possible Norman's killer manually deleted the numbers to cover their tracks. Fortunately, it didn't work.
On that track phone, We tracked down to a Walmart. Walmart records confirm it was purchased at this time at this register because they have to activate the phone.
Cool. Okay.
So we get the video of that register and we discover the individual who's paying for the phone is Latarsha. At some point during the interview, we actually show her the video because she's in full denial that she bought a phone. Do you remember at any time prior to the murder purchasing a phone?
Purchasing a phone?
Yeah.
No. Purchasing it?
No.
When she sees herself, how does she act?
Complete, utter shock. You can see her almost start sweating. And then she confirms the fact that, yes, she purchased a phone, and she comes up with the story of the phone gets lost.
Something happened with the phone. The phone got lost or stolen or...
The problem for Latarsha is, if you look at the track phone records after she says it was lost, that phone was used to make calls to Latarsha herself and to Norman right before he was murdered. So whoever had this phone after Latarsha supposedly lost it sure was connected to a lot of people in this case.
Okay, first she lies about buying it.
Correct.
Then she lies about...
How it's lost.
Right now, we can't say who was using the track phone, but why is she buying a phone when she has her own cell phone? Why so close to the murder? And did she do this alone or with somebody else? When you have a murder, you start with the inner world of the victim. Norman was not married and had no children, but he was having an affair with Margot Scott. So then you ask yourself, does Margot have a boyfriend or a husband who could be jealous and he's the killer? And that's how you get to Richard Scott.
Hi, Margot. Thank you for taking the time out.
So we need to talk to Margot Scott and ask her all those hard questions to see whether or not he's involved in this murder case.
We're revisiting Norman West, and it's going to open up some old wounds.
I've never called him Norman. Junior. We refer to him as Junior. He was not disliked by anybody. Everybody liked that young man. He was a little slow, but he was a sweet person.
How long were you in a relationship with him?
Probably like 6 months.
Your husband find out?
No. He had no idea. It wasn't like he knew something and he was like running around here, I'm going to kill this man, or I'm going to do something to him, or I'm going to threaten him.
I ain't never suspected it. You were on the phone with him all the time.
My husband never suspected anything as far as Junior was concerned. You got to understand, my husband had been flat on his back for about 3-4 months at the time. He had a brain aneurysm. He doesn't remember anything. I can tell him something right now and he still doesn't remember. He has what's called short-term memory loss.
If Richard didn't know about the affair and was recovering from an aneurysm, it seems unlikely that he was mentally...
Norman would do things for the family, like
right.
His cousin Larry would have him go to a duplex and do, like, side work, like rake the leaves.
Which is the duplex that he was at that day.
Which is where he was headed that day. I dropped him off, and that was the last time I saw him.
And you were having a conversation with him, right?
On the phone, yakking like we normally yak. He was walking, he said, I'm headed to the duplex. And then I look at the phone, I said, your cousin calling me, why she calling me?
That cousin being
Tasha.
Okay.
So I clicked the line over from him. She was like, oh, I got your money. You can come get it. I went back to the line and all I heard was, I'm like, what the heck? And then I'm steady calling, no response. Saturday morning, I called Tasha. I was like, where is Junior? And she was like, yeah, he dead. Just like that. She didn't show no kind of like she was upset, no kind of remorse. It was like, it wasn't no big deal. I was like, wow.
Margot's phone calls to Norman's cell on the day of the murder could be very useful. Whenever a cell phone sends or receives a call, it pings a cell phone tower nearby, even if no one answers. Those pings can tell you the location of the phone.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Brian Roberts has been working with our new cell phone expert to analyze the victim and suspect phone data.
These maps and charts lay out exactly where the phones were for the people that we're most interested in this case.
The first thing we need to do is establish where Norman's cell phone was that day.
All right. We know that at 4:35 p.m., our victim, Norman West's phone is by the duplex.
A witness reported that Norman was at the duplex till at least 4:43 p.m. And shortly after, he was seen getting in a car and being driven away.
Norman's body is found at approximately 620, 6 miles away from where the duplex is at. Next thing we know, his phone is traveling.
After it's called in that he's dead?
The fact that Norman's phone keeps moving north after he's dead suggests that whoever killed him also took his phone.
Norman's phone is found on the shoulder of I-75, 15 miles away from where Norman's body was found.
Norman's phone was discovered broken in half and discarded on the side of a highway. The question is, who brought it there?
If you take a look here at the bottom, we have Larry Jackson's phone between these hours of 4:30 and 5:01. He's over here by the duplex. This tells us that they are in the same area during this period of time.
You're putting them together right before we think the murder happened.
The phones are together.
Yes.
Correct. But what we see during the time frame that we think that Norman was murdered, Larry's phone drops off. He's either not receiving calls, making calls, or he's just turned it off.
Okay, so we don't know where he is.
This location right here is where Larry's phone comes back on again. He makes one phone call to LaTarsha at 6:35, 15 minutes after Norman's body is found in the alley.
And of all the people in the whole wide world to be calling, he's calling her.
Now, here's what's significant. Larry's phone comes back on in the same area that Norman's phone is dumped.
Sweet. This is great because it puts Larry's phone in the same area as Norman's thrown away phone at the same time Larry is trying to claim he has an alibi. And this is when Larry's still saying he's at the park, right?
Right.
And the park that he's telling you he's at, you know it, and it's not in this area.
No, it is not.
Wouldn't use this cell tower.
No.
The park where Larry was claiming to be that afternoon from around 4 to 7 is about 15 miles from the area where Larry's phone was actually making calls. And those calls were made in the same area where Norman's phone was found. This is the one that makes the "I was at the park 2 to 3 hours" a lie. And that's the one you care about the most because this is when the murder happened. Because our victim, Norman West, was having an affair with a married woman named Margot, we had to look at her husband, Richard, as a suspect. But after reviewing all the evidence again, we know that Richard Scott did have an aneurysm right before this murder happened.
I feel confident that it would have probably been physically impossible for him to carry out that murder.
Carlos, you agree?
I agree 100%.
Yo, you agree?
Yeah.
Steve, you agree?
I do.
All right, so now y'all can focus all your attention on LaTarsha and Larry.
Hi, how are you, ma'am? I don't know if you remember me from about 4 years ago. Is that yes, or? Okay.
Virginia Jackson is not only Norman's aunt, she's Larry's mother and LaTarsha's grandmother. She's also the owner of the home Norman was living in at the time of the murder.
Did you know that Norman had some life insurance on him?
Yes. Well, at first, Larry took it. He said he's going to take out some insurance because Lama Bahia staying here with me. He says anything happened to Norma, I was going to have to be responsible for putting him away.
It's not uncommon to purchase life insurance to cover funeral costs, but the average funeral costs less than $10,000. Larry and LaTarsha together had over $300,000 of coverage on Norman. So where was the rest of that money going to go?
Who had the life insurance on Norman?
Larry took it out.
And who was supposed to get the money if something happened to Norman?
He's supposed to get it if he took it out.
How about your granddaughter? Would you be surprised if I told you she had a $200,000 life insurance policy on Norman? She never told you? She never talked to you about it or nothing like that? All right, okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time.
God, you couldn't put...
She didn't even know LaTarsha had the life insurance policy.
So, Carlos, where are we headed?
To a flea market just north of the police station. Flea market open today? They open 7 days a week, baby.
We need to figure out whether or not there was any way Norman West was contributing enough to the family income to justify $300,000 in life insurance.
Caesar, her name is Kelly. Kelly, what's up, baby?
According to the insurance application, Norman's employer at that time was LaTarsha's father, Cecil Johnson.
How was your relationship with Norman?
You know, he trying to find his way, you know, good kid. He'll do what you ask him to do. Little peaceful guy. He ain't gonna hurt nobody.
He was employed with you?
Yeah, he did a little couple things for me, yes, sir.
Side jobs?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Whenever you needed
moving
something?
this, moving that, yeah.
It's not like you had a company and he worked for you with that company, right? Then. This is a life insurance application that was filed. They had Mr. Norman West in occupation construction, and the employer, Cecil Johnson.
I don't know why they would do that, but...
And his monthly salary was $4,800.
So when this was filled out, If he made $4,800 a month, that's over $50,000
Damn right.
a year.
The man ain't got a bank account. He should at least have a bank account if he catching that mother.
Right. Is it safe to say that he was not under your...
Let me ask you a question. Who the that come from?
There was a couple people that filed life insurance claims on him.
That's bullshit.
One of them was your daughter.
Okay, that's still bullshit.
And the other one was, I understand. And the other one was Larry Johnson.
Now that's man stupid, but I don't know about that.
This one using you was for $200,000.
Yeah. This one was for $200,000. And this one is your daughter's putting on him, you know.
And she didn't give me no money?
No, she didn't get no money.
Oh, okay. God.
Cecil never knew about a life insurance policy on Norman. Why would anybody have one? Norman never made $4,800 a month in his life. He was young and healthy and was not a significant financial contributor to that family. You can see where someone would have had the idea that he was worth more dead than alive. Do you feel like Larry could tell LaTarsha to do all this kind of stuff? Would she do that for Larry?
Like that? Man, look here. I'm gonna tell you two things. I don't know,
right,
and yes.
Okay.
The only people that were in the middle of these big insurance policies were LaTarsha and Larry, which makes you wonder, were they working together to take advantage of Norman? And why would Norman ever agree to this insurance coverage in the first place? So this is LaTarsha's policy. When you look these over really carefully and you compare the Norman West signature to what we know to be his true signature, you can see they're not the same. So here's the first signature. Look, it's almost like they missed the R. Notice the O and the O.
The loop is backwards here too.
Yeah, and notice the T and the T and the second. He always comes all the way to the bottom to write his second. Same thing down here. They missed the R. Look at the T. And then the last time, so you got 4 times here where someone is consistently signing his name, but it's consistently different than his real ID signature. In all the cases I've had, I have never come across insurance policies this questionable. It's time for us to track down the 2 people who stood to profit the most from Norman West's death. So y'all want to make odds he never gets in the car?
In our car?
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay.
But you might have a miracle, Carlos. You might work your charm, and he might.
Yeah.
We have to hit Larry and LaTarsha at the same time. Otherwise, they're going to warn each other, and we're going to lose our chance for a clean interview on each of them.
We're going to hit LaTarsha.
She may make a few statements. Who knows?
We got her in once.
269.
Larry Jackson.
Thank you.
Please.
Larry's an ex-cop, so you know he's no stranger when it comes to guns, and that means that our guys have to be really careful when they walk up on him.
Are we talking to LaTarsha now?
Yeah, well, we're gonna go.
Go try it, huh? Steve, Alex, and I are headed to LaTarsha Johnson, while Kelly, Detective Garcia, and Detective Miguel Suarez are approaching our other suspect, Larry Jackson.
Somebody's inside someone.
All right, boys, you're up.
It's men.
Sorry, men, you're up.
Hi, good morning. We're retouching Norman's murder again. And I was just wondering if you had some time so we could talk to you in the car, maybe ask you some more questions, see if you've heard anything new.
She says she's coming, but she's on the phone.
You know what she's doing. She's calling him before she even gets in this car.
One more time. Good morning, Mr. Larry Jackson, please. Hello? Hello?
think you found him?
He knows we're looking for him now.
We are clearly never going to get Larry to talk. Let's hope that Steve and Yolanda and Alex are having a whole lot better luck with LaTarsha.
Let's just go over here. Just sit up front. We'll talk in here. Hi, LaTarsha. How are you? What was the reason why you took the life insurance out on Norman?
My grandmother told me to.
Your grandmother told you to take? And what was the purpose of that for?
In case of something happened to him and under the circumstances where he was...
I mean, was he providing money to the house?
No.
No. Did he ever work for your dad?
Yes.
When you did your insurance policy, do you remember listing that Norman was making $4,800 a month?
No, I didn't fill out the paperwork. I wasn't even there.
How does the claim go into the insurance company? Do you say, if Norman got killed, I want my money? How does that work? You never make a claim? Would you be surprised if I tell you that I have a sworn statement from you on that insurance policy? After you made a claim?
No.
That didn't happen?
May 11th, you go in and give a statement to the insurance company about Norman's death. You tried to collect on the insurance policy.
You tried to get it. You just didn't get it. Tarsha, what if I were to tell you that a lot of your story has a lot of holes in it? And there's a lot of evidence that disproves a lot of what you're saying right now. What would you say to that?
I don't know why.
Do you remember when we spoke about 4 years ago? First you told me that you don't remember buying the phone. And then I remember we showed you the video when you were purchasing the phone. And then you told us that you gave the phone to your boyfriend, right? And then you also told us that the phone was lost on a train. Did you ever use that phone?
No.
Did you ever get any calls on that phone?
No.
Is that your number? Is that your number? This lost phone calls you 10 times, calls your grandmother twice, and calls Norman right before he's murdered twice. Must have been found by somebody who knows you and your grandmother and Norman.
Do you think a jury's going to believe that you bought this track phone, it's lost, and then this track phone is used to call Norman, and then Norman's found dead within about an hour of the last phone call? Do you think people are just going to believe that's a coincidence?
Is 10 calls to me from that phone?
Yes. What happened, LaTarsha?
I don't know.
Ask yourself one simple question here. If you were us, with the information that we've given you, who would you look at? Who?
What's it gonna be, LaTarsha? You gonna say the truth, or we're just gonna sit here? LaTarsha, when you have another one of those sleepless nights like you will tonight, think of your mom, think of your daughter, think of the rest of your life, and think of where you see yourself. This is my name, and this is my number. Here you go. Thank you for your time.
We couldn't get LaTarsha to tell us any more. It's time to go back and evaluate the case where it stands.
Okay, so we've talked about circumstantial evidence all week long, and y'all are going to your prosecutors, and we know how most prosecutors feel about circumstantial evidence cases. Circumstantial cases are always difficult, but when you put them in perspective and everybody understands what they really mean, they can be fantastic. Everybody wants that one big thing, the overwhelming DNA or a confession or the weapon with fingerprints on it to the suspect. But you know what one big thing will get you? If you only have one of these, you can break it. This is what's going to happen. There's your case. But y'all, what's beautiful about this case, you got all these little circumstances. You have an insurance policy. Larry takes out a $100,000 insurance policy on a completely healthy man. And then you have LaTarsha take out a $200,000 policy in December. You have Cecil saying, I was never his boss. He never made $4,800 a month.
This is our life insurance application, and the employer, Cecil Johnson.
Who the that come from?
And we can see here that Norman's signature looks forged. Someone is consistently signing his name, but it's consistently different than his real ID signature. And then you talk about each and every lie as a circumstance. And then you have LaTarsha saying, I didn't buy no track phone. Yes, you did, LaTarsha. The track phone was the last number to call Norman before his murder, and all those calls have been deleted from Norman's phone. We might not be able to prove who was using that phone, but the evidence sure shows that LaTarsha's trying to distance herself from it. Larry says, we went to the park. No, he didn't. The park that he's telling you he's at, you know it, and it's not in this area.
No.
And then you add in there the cell phone record. Every single call made that day between the two of them with the times that it happened showed that Norman's phone and Larry's phone were near each other when he was last seen alive and right after he was murdered.
Larry's phone comes back on in the same area that Norman's phone is done.
Sweet. Look at all these little pieces. When you add them all up, no matter what you try to do to them, you can't break them. And that's why you gotta love your case. Someone Norman trusted called him, he'd gone horribly wrong. So y'all ready to go to the state's attorney's office with everything?
I think we have enough circumstantial evidence that they'll definitely go for this one.
That's good.
Y'all ready to go sell it?
Let's hope they feel the same way we do.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Cheryl. We're happy to see you again.
Thank you. I'm just tired. It's been a long week.
Worried about all this?
Yeah, and then going to school for 2 different courses.
You got too much going on in your life, baby.
Yeah.
So this week we focused on Norman's case, and we feel like the case got stronger and better to the degree that Alex and his supervisor called up the state's attorney's office, and there's going to be a meeting scheduled because they're excited to talk about the case because they feel better about it. They're actually meeting with the most senior prosecutor that handles murder cases.
Wow.
What you thinking?
So much. Oh, gosh, that's good.
It's very good, actually.
Yeah.
So you're okay to be patient with all this just a little bit longer, right? Okay. You suffered a lot in your life, and there comes a day and a time when you got to worry about yourself. Don't you think Norman and your mom would be saying, Cheryl, you got to be happy, girl.
Yeah.
Put your faith in God and pray and be strong and move ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's hard, though.
Well, you're almost there. You're almost done with school, and then that's your whole new beginning. New job, new career, new life.
Don't worry about all this. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't argue 1 minute in the courtroom. You can't question one witness. It's out of your control. The only thing in your control is your life and your happiness. And you got to worry about that, okay?
Yes.
All right, baby, come on. Come on. You've been through enough hurt, okay? Worry about yourself. She deserves every chance in life to try and find some happiness for herself, and it's time for her to put this behind her because there's nothing she can do to control it. Alex and Carlos will keep... Good morning, Bling Bling. What are you doing?
Good morning, girlie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sitting here with Abby. What are you doing?
Well, I'm sorry I'm going to miss this one, but you know I've got the big family events.
It's too bad that Yolanda can't be here with us for this next investigation. Hey, I miss you. We'll see you next case, baby.
Good luck, you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
See you, Yolanda.
But I've called in Abby Abadondolo to help us out. Feel kind of funny sitting over here looking next to me and seeing you and not Yolanda's long red hair, dude.
I do not have long red hair, no question about that.
We are in Okaloosa County, Florida, to investigate the missing person case of 37-year-old Marie Carlson, who was last seen on October 17th, 2011. Marie, she's one of those people that life kind of kept kicking in the teeth.
Even though she had a lot of problems in her life, Marie was a mom, and moms don't usually leave their kids.
In some instances, you can make that hard argument. In this case, we're going to need to also consider Marie's very unique history. Marie was a very loving mother, but sometimes she did behave unpredictably, possibly due to her diagnosis of bipolar disorder. She was trying to stabilize her life to be the best mom that she could before she disappeared.
All missing person cases are sad, not just for the investigator, but for the family. And it does tug at your heart because you can bet every time they go to the grocery store and they see somebody that reminds them of that person, they're hoping they're going to run into them.
With a missing person case, you have the presumption that that person is still alive somewhere. It's not against the law to live under the radar. So if this is, in fact, a murder case, one of the first hurdles that we have to get past is that Marie is still alive and she just doesn't want to be found.
I'm glad you're here, man, because this case, it's going to be hard.
We could definitely use some luck, a little Jedi mind trick every now and then in there in the interview.
Well, let's hope that because 3.5+ years have passed, all the people from the church might add a little bit more to the story, too, now. Marie was deeply involved with the local church, which might make this case especially challenging. If secrets were being hidden to protect the church, we're going to need to uncover them to figure out whether or not we're looking for Marie or for her killer.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you
Good
guys
morning.
doing?
Kelly, nice to meet
Kelly?
you.
Hi.
Hey, Nestle, good to finally meet you.
Hi, I'm Keith. Nice
Read
to
all
meet you.
about you.
And this is our lieutenant.
Hey, Eric Aiden.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Every investigator has one case that sticks with them.
Y'all ready to go to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Show us our workroom.
This is one of the hardest cases because we don't have a body. We don't have a crime scene. This one has stuck with me over the years. Even after my retirement, I think it will still continue on with me.
Keith and Nestle, can y'all tell us a little bit about Marie?
She's half American, half Filipino.
She worked for the police department in Colorado.
Yes, sir. She was a booking deputy.
With a desire to become an FBI agent.
Right.
This is a smart lady.
Marie wanted to try things. She wanted to live life. She was friendly. She was dynamic. She was beautiful. Marie was the kind of lady that you want to be.
What I really want to go into is Marie being a mother. Marie is the mother of a little girl named Paris. She loved that little girl, but realized that she couldn't take care of Paris. So she gave up, which is the hardest thing for a mother to do, gave up Paris to Jeff, her ex-husband.
The information we had received, she had some psychological issues.
She was at one point diagnosed as being bipolar.
That is
and
correct.
was on medication.
Yes.
Why don't you walk Abby and me through your investigation in the case?
The case was first called in by Jeff, her ex-husband, over a mass text that was sent out on Wednesday, the 19th of October. Her text said she had left the Fort Walton Beach area. She did not want to tell anybody what her plans were because they tried to stop her. He called down to our office and we took the report. There's not against the law to run away. But after a few days, I decided to go to where she was living at, and that was with my pastor by the name of James Flanders and his wife, Tanya Flanders, at their residence here at Fort Walton Beach. He says that they helped her out a couple of years, and they wanted another baby, which Tanya could not have.
Okay.
And that Marie was a surrogate for them.
Okay.
Yes. Then she gave birth to a little girl named Grace.
According to James and Tanya, they had a very close relationship with Marie. In fact, Marie was so grateful for their friendship and generosity, she agreed to be a surrogate for them and gave birth to baby Grace, who was only 3 months old at the time of Marie's disappearance. So what do they tell you about the day of Marie's disappearance?
James says that Tanya takes the baby, goes to Bell's Outlet. James says he takes off for a run. James and Tanya go back to their house, and they say that Marie's truck is gone. The 19th of October is the mass text. Okay. At that point, James and Tanya say that they go directly out to the airport to look for her vehicle. And he spots the truck, so he drives the truck back home. They also talk about she does go missing at times, and this is not unusual for her.
Huh. Police searched flight records and they found no evidence that Marie flew anywhere around that time. So the question is, did Marie truly run away like her text message said, or was there foul play involved? I think we ought to start with missing person ?
Correct.
And these are our arguments why Marie really just went missing.
Prior history.
Prior history.
Walking away, leaving for a couple days.
She was constantly moving.
Yeah, constantly.
What else about the just leaving?
Bipolar.
Marie had a journal where she had written this kind of crazy talk.
Just rambling on.
Well, it just confirms she's bipolar.
Right.
Given to Paris.
That's the single biggest one. Marie lived a life where she often wanted to just take off. And if she was capable of picking up and running off and leaving her first child with her ex, then there's a real possibility that she just took off again. Oh, that's a pretty good list. Okay, so now let's flip it around and come up with all of our arguments for murder. Okay, we know we have two suspects. Let's put up the Right Reverend.
Pastor James.
Smooth talking.
He's charismatic, too.
Let me ask you a quick question. What are you doing right now?
James Flanders was a pastor at a non-denominational church in the Fort Walton Beach area. Very charismatic, a good speaker. He actually posted some things online, and he was able to develop a real following from that.
Last one alone with Marie?
Yes, that's huge.
He didn't report her missing.
Yeah.
They left in the middle of the night in a hurry.
Left in a hurry, that's a big one.
And it was directly after having contact with Keith.
After Marie's disappearance, rumors began to swirl, leaving James and Tanya in the middle of the investigation. The church asked James Flanders to resign his pastorship, and after police aggressively questioned Tanya, they quickly packed up and left for Arizona. But were they merely overwhelmed by all the scrutiny, or were they hiding something? Okay, so let's put up Tanya Flanders.
She's the rock.
Of the household and the church.
What's the first thing y'all want to put?
Jealous.
Marie was beautiful.
Baby.
Tanya told several stories about Marie and the pregnancy. She told some that Marie was going to be a surrogate. Some she told that Marie had been with an abusive boyfriend and got pregnant that way. And then when questioned by the police, her story gets even more bizarre.
Tanya tells me that James is the father of the baby. They didn't have money, but they were going to do it the old-fashioned way.
They literally say the words old-fashioned way.
Yes.
He's a preacher.
Yeah, that's right. And Tanya tells me she was there when they had sexual intercourse one time.
She was in the room.
She was there when they were having sex.
Huh.
I was amazed by her telling me this, but in this field of work, you see a lot.
At some point, a baby is brought into this world named Grace. Was Marie supposed to be a surrogate? Did Marie get pregnant to give them a gift? Did James and Marie mess around behind Tanya's back and she gets pregnant? Whatever the case was, it definitely was not traditional. And learning more about their relationship and this pregnancy could be the key to figuring out exactly what happened to Marie Carlson.
With most cases, at least you know what happened to your loved one. In this case, you don't know at all. It's the hardest part of a no-body case.
We're going to meet Marie's two sisters, Esta and Rose.
Hi.
And also the father of her baby Paris.
Pleasure. I'm Jeff.
Her ex-husband, Jeff.
We just really kind of want to know a little bit about Marie.
She was very loving and very warm.
And bright.
Very pretty, and she was the kind of person that you couldn't help but like.
She was the life of the party.
People loved her.
Yeah, people loved her. The last time I saw her, she talked a lot about her girls. A lot. She loved her kids.
I look at my daughter and I see her. And she's a lot like her mom.
Yeah.
And I feel like my daughter's been robbed.
You're doing great. Just keep going.
It's hard. It's hard to let go. The hard part is not knowing exactly what happened. I'd like my daughter to know and to have some answers.
She was like my sister, but she was also my best friend. I don't have my best friend back.
The challenge here for Nestle is it a missing person or is it a murder case? All you can do now is have faith and trust a little bit longer in Nestle and Keith, and what happens in the next couple of days, that we can at least resolve it and give you some answers.
We are never going to give up.
I know that.
Oh, yeah, I already know that, so.
Come on.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing all this.
The Calvary Emerald Coast Church was the center of Marie's social life before she went missing in 2011. It is also where she met our two suspects, Pastor James Flanders and his wife, Tanya.
How are you? This is Kelly.
Hi.
Kelly.
Nice to meet you. An elder at the church might be able to shed some light on the relationship between Marie and the Flanders.
So Maria was coming to the church, and somehow it came about she needed a place to live. And then she got pregnant. Then it came about she was going to give the baby to the Flanders. There was some sort of agreement that after a number of months, breastfeeding would be completed and Maria was going to leave and go live her life. Now in my mind, it all lined up with the way things were supposed to work. You know, it just didn't seem odd to me that she was gone.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's clear that if there were details that were being hidden, then we need to figure out what they were.
They hopefully will be here in just a few minutes.
Okay. On the church staff was a group of 3 women that were called the Inner Circle. They were close friends of Tanya's, and she confided in all of them. But their strong allegiance to James and Tanya may have held them back from being completely forthcoming.
If you look at us like a little cult, we were part of the little inner circle drinking the Kool-Aid.
I value Tanya more than anyone, but I'm not the one to say stuff, you know?
Just let it flow. Just talk. Just talk.
Even if they keep in contact with them and they know about the baby and all that, they don't have the reason to defend them anymore. We're hoping enough time has passed to where their relationship with James and Tanya has changed, and we can find out everything that they know.
When Marie moved into their house, they asked me and my husband to help her move her furniture, and so we helped her. I remember that day, we were like, why is she moving in with you guys? Because I know I asked Tanya.
You asked Tanya straight out then?
I said, dude, there's something going on between you 3, and that's when she said, yeah, they're in a relationship, the 3 of them, and keep this in confidence. And I said, if you guys are happy, that's your thing, but if that's what you believe, you need to tell your congregation.
Crazy.
So
it's a crazy situation.
This is far more complex than we first thought. If James, Tanya, and Marie were living in a polygamous relationship, that certainly would have been outside the teachings of their church, which could have been the reason why Tanya wanted to keep it a secret.
She tell you to keep it a secret?
Yeah, asked me to keep it from my husband as well. She manipulated me really well. The way she presented it to me is that she was afraid that Reed would want a second wife as well.
That's pretty smooth on her part.
What was your view of Tanya's feelings of Marie being pregnant?
Well, Tanya had always wanted another child, but they had problems. So kind of what she presented was, kind of make the best of it kind of thing.
But it was definitely unplanned.
The way it was presented to me, yes, it was unplanned.
By Tanya?
By Tanya.
This contradicts Tanya's initial story that the baby was conceived through a carefully managed sexual encounter between James and Marie, which Tanya claimed she supervised. If the baby was unplanned, then Tanya not only had a forbidden relationship she needed to cover up, now there's a baby involved, which is going to make it even more difficult to keep the situation under control.
The plan was always that they were going to raise the baby together.
And talk about relationship, living as one. I mean, a whole family.
Yes, living as a family. I know that the relationship was not in a good place.
How do you know that?
Just their whole demeanor. They weren't happy anymore.
What do you think was the big issue between them?
This is just speculation, of course, but Tanya was a little bit older than Marie, and then Marie was in terrific shape.
Marie's prettier.
She was beautiful.
Younger.
She's younger.
Did you ever hear Tanya say, Marie wants more?
No, I did not hear Tanya say that, but did I hear that from Marie? That Marie wanted James.
Marie wanted him to herself. These church ladies, who are Tanya's closest friends, say that Marie wanted James all to herself. And Tanya was trying to keep her husband happy while protecting their reputation and her own position of power within the church. Whoa, what's that?
Here are all the text messages from Marie Carlson's iPhone prior to her going missing. This is a new forensic tool that we recently acquired, and it was able to parse out all her messages and her call logs.
So we've never seen this before?
I don't believe so.
There's no telling what might be in here between Marie and James. These texts could be a huge piece of new evidence. Marie's private messages to James could really paint the picture of their relationship. I want to use my mouth to give a massage. Neck massages, back massages, this massage night. I'll massage your butt.
Betty's not talking that way to Tanya.
Seeing you at church and knowing I can't kiss your lips drives me insane. These text messages, which cover months, prove that James and Marie's relationship was a lot more graphic than the one-time encounter Tanya wants everybody to believe. I think these would get Tanya worked up, don't you?
Squeeze your milky nipples.
My penis says hello. That's a good one.
Look at this one. A finger inside. Imagine my mouth on your... Wow, I think I'll stop there.
It's clear that Marie fell for James' charisma and status, and her infatuation was really growing. It makes you wonder if it wasn't Tanya who couldn't handle sharing his affections. It was Marie, and her way of avoiding a broken heart was to escape. Before the disappearance of Marie Carlson on October the 17th, 2011, she was involved in a secret relationship that seemed to be really having issues, especially after Marie gave birth to baby Grace.
Hello? Hi, Nina?
Yeah? Nina Atkinson is Marie's mother. She lives in Sweden, but she talked to Marie very often. We need to find out if Marie said anything to her mom about her relationship with the Flanders and their plans for the baby.
What did you think about her giving the baby to the Flanders?
The problem, they are fighting each other since they delivered the baby.
They've been fighting with each other since the baby was delivered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fighting.
About what? Do you know?
The husband and wife, they don't want Mary to stay there in the house.
She told you that they had been fighting over the baby because Marie wanted to raise the baby and they didn't want her involved. Okay.
That's good.
All right, Nina, as soon as we find more information, we will call you.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Did you hear what she said?
That they were fighting over the baby.
That's a pretty good motive right there.
And what's the number one thing Tanya Flanders hates to lose?
Control.
Control. And she was losing it.
Alice K. Barber was Marie's very close friend and almost like a second mother to her.
I really appreciate you coming over.
Marie lived with Alice before she moved in with the Flanders, and they remained close up until her disappearance.
What was her interaction with Grace?
She loved that child, and it was your typical mother and newborn baby.
Okay, let's fast forward to you get the group text.
The group text?
This is...
Yesterday I left Fort Walton Beach to do something I always wanted to do. I didn't tell anyone because I knew you would try to talk me out of it. I love and appreciate you all. What is this?
It's pretty close.
3.5 years later, when you talk to Alice K. Barber about this text message, she knows it by heart because she's probably gone over that text message 1,000,000 times. When you hear her talk about it like that, it just breaks your heart.
I started texting back, and nothing was coming back. And then finally, I said, what about Grace? Where's Grace? And the text said, she's fine. She's with Tanya and James. She's in good hands. And when the Tanya came before the James, I knew that wasn't her. She never, ever, ever, not one time did she say Tanya and James. Ever. It was always James and Tanya. Tanya's name never, ever came first.
You instantly know that it's not Marie because the text says Tanya and James, and she would have written it James and Tanya.
Right.
Alice knew Marie more than anyone, so the fact that she picked up on something odd with the wording of a text is significant because it makes you wonder if Marie didn't send out that group text after all.
When she came to the house in September, I felt like she wanted to come back home.
When you say come back home, you mean to move in with you?
And I didn't offer. And I couldn't. I think...
Was that the last time you saw her?
You can't blame yourself, Alice.
No, you really can't.
You can't.
According to James and Tanya, after they received the mass text, they went looking for Marie. They found her truck at the airport. James supplied the police with a receipt that showed that the truck had been parked there one day after Marie disappeared. What's really strange is on the night of Marie's disappearance, a police officer finds her truck at a gas station, abandoned and unsecured.
Hey, white mug, the pickup truck for 748 Golf Frank.
28 returns to Mary Carlson.
So this is where it's found unsecured by the
Correct.
Fort Walton officer.
That's correct.
He knows that this isn't a good part of town.
I mean, this place has got "steal me" written all over it.
At the time, Marie hadn't been reported missing, so the police really didn't think much of it. But now it just doesn't make any sense. Why would Marie's truck be abandoned at a closed gas station and then 7 hours later end up at the airport with no record that she ever got on a plane? It clearly doesn't add up, and I think we're missing something here.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good, you?
Good.
Now that we understand the movements of Marie's truck after her disappearance, we need to learn more about the movements of Marie and our two suspects, James and Tanya Flanders. You fired up?
Ready to go.
Brian Roberts is a member of our team, and he, along with our new cell phone expert, analyzed the cell phone records that the Sheriff's Department so thoroughly collected, and it's time to see what they found.
This first map right here, you can see is for James Flanders' telephone. It's for October 17, 2011. This is the Chevron gas station where the car was left abandoned. There are text messages from James's phone at 7:38 p.m. and 7:41 p.m. pinging off of the towers by the Chevron gas station.
According to James, the last time that he saw Marie was around 6:30 that afternoon at their house. Now we can see that hours later, James' phone was near the gas station where Marie's truck was found abandoned that night.
At 7:52, Tanya said that she received a call from James.
So Tanya is over in Destin. Correct. And the phone call, she talked to James all the way back to Fort Walton Beach.
Correct.
If James killed Marie and left her truck at the gas station at that time, we know that Tanya wasn't with them because her phone was all the way across town and she never received a call from James until after we believe the crime happened. So the question remains, how did Marie's truck end up at the airport?
This is the parking receipt for Marie's truck at the Northwest Florida Regional Airport. We have Marie's truck going in at 10:19 a.m. on October 18th. I mean, Marie's phone is not pinging off of the towers by the airport. However, we see text messages from James's phone, 10:20, 10:26, 10:27. The times for all of those match perfectly.
Right there at the airport.
Right there at the airport.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. James's phone was by the airport at the very moment Marie's truck ends up there. And his phone was by the gas station when we think Marie's truck was abandoned there. It's possible that if James killed Marie, he somehow disposed of her body and abandoned her truck unsecured at the gas station in the hopes that it would get stolen. When it wasn't, he went to Plan B where he drove it to the airport and abandoned it to try and make it look like Marie took off on a flight out of town.
Now, one last thing. This is Wednesday, October 19, 2011. Marie has supposedly left Fort Walton Beach. What's significant here is at 4:38 p.m., 10 folks got that mass text message from Marie saying that she's leaving the Fort Walton Beach area. Her phone is right over here by their house. And James is at home when he gets it.
Their phones are together.
Their phones are together. Marie's phone never leaves Fort Walton Beach.
That's freaking great. That's great. When that mass text from Marie's phone was sent telling her friend she had left town, her phone never left the area. On top of that, Marie's phone and James's phone were both right by the house. It is apparent that Marie never sent that mass text. It is clearer than ever that Marie did not simply run away. We've addressed it all, we acknowledge it all, but in the whole scheme of everything, she is not just missing, it's a murder case.
Correct.
Okay. We still have Tanya Flanders up here on the board. Nestle, what do you think about what do we do with Tanya Flanders?
I don't think we can charge her. I think we prove it in the cell phone records. When we believe Marie's car is put into the gas station, Tanya's cell phones aren't anywhere near the gas station.
I don't think that there is enough evidence to charge Tanya Flanders.
What she's guilty of is trying to preserve her world.
Yes.
All right, so we're taking Tanya Flanders off the suspect board.
Yep, take her off.
Which leaves James.
Pastor James.
Pastor James. Now that we're focused on James Flanders in the murder of Marie Carlson, we need to talk to his inner circle at the church.
This is Abby.
Starting with a good friend of James who he had lunch with 2 weeks after the murder.
So he called up and said, "Hey man, can you get together?" And I said, "Let's meet for lunch." And when he got there, he was really distraught, and he was whispering and he kept going, I can't believe it happened. I can't believe it happened." And I said, "What?" He just said, "It's just too bad. I can't say it."
That's a new one.
And he had asked if I could get him out of the country. And I said, "No."
But he never alluded to you why he needed to be taken out of the country.
No, just over and over, it's bad, it's bad.
James Flanders, out of his very mouth, says, "I need to get out of the country. Can you help me get out of the country?" Why would he say that?
How are you, Dick? Pretty good, man. Good. Good seeing you.
Jason Anderson is the current pastor at the Calvary Emerald Coast Church. After years of acting as the youth pastor under his mentor, James Flanders, he took over when James resigned. When all this is going on at the church, did y'all call him up and say, "We need to talk"?
I called James and said, "There's some things that have been brought to my attention. I'm concerned for you and concerned for the future of the church. So we need to meet ASAP." Then that's when he told me about the physical altercation they had. I guess it was probably the day she went missing.
Can you tell us about that?
He just said that they were at home and she came in the room and she was acting crazy. He said that she got physical with him, like pushing, hitting, scratching, and that he had scratches on his chest and arms, I think.
Being the last person to see that woman alive, James Flanders said that he struggled with her. In fact, struggled so much that she scratched him on the arms and the chest. Classic signs of defense wounds.
Did they say what the fight was about?
I don't know if this is when he said it or how I learned about it, but I remember something that she was threatening to take the baby away.
Don't remember who you heard it from, though?
I don't.
You had to confront your pastor of so many years, and now he's committed the sin.
Hardest thing I've ever done.
James Flanders is very, very charismatic, and he was like the God in that church. And it really kind of makes you sick because all these people believed in him, and he manipulated all of them because he's very, very selfish, and he wanted to have 2 women in his life. He devastated a whole church full of people. So this is a Sunday church sermon?
This is actually September of 2011.
So about a month before the murder.
Correct. The church themselves put several of his sermons online.
Okay.
When Jesus tells us to love our enemies and bless those who persecute us, he's not saying, when that person is really out to get you, they're backstabbing you, they're gossiping about you, you need to just really feel all about them. Now, whenever someone is backstabbing me, lying about me, gossiping about me, trying to tear me down or whatever, you know what I want to do? My feelings say, yes. As the Bible talks about the fruit of the Spirit is love. One aspect is self-control. Right? If we didn't have those thoughts of wanting to choke the life out of someone, we would not need self-control. Right?
Wow.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that is pretty good.
1 month before the murder.
Yeah. He's talking about himself. Those cactuses are just so cool, man. Yeah, I've never seen them like that.
Well, so they obviously don't grow in Texas.
They don't.
It's time to talk to our suspect, James Flanders, and his wife, Tanya. They currently live in Arizona, so Nestle, Lieutenant Eric Aiden, and I are taking the trip.
I'm glad that Abby's on the same page as me and that the phone call is a better option.
Our strategy is to talk to James and Tanya separately. So instead of showing up at their house unexpectedly, we're going to call and find out their locations.
Hello?
Hi, is this Tanya?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Tanya. It's Nestle Moore with Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. I just wanted to let you know that I am still working the case involving Marie. And we have some questions that I think that you could really help me with, you and James. Do you think I could talk to...
Here. His father is in ICU dying right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know you're not, but that's okay. There's no way that he's going to be able to talk to you right now.
Apparently, James is at the hospital with his father who's dying. That's going to be a huge hurdle. Right now, we've got Tanya on the phone. She's alone, and this is a good chance for us to interview her.
We've got some new information, and I really wanted to talk to you and James in person about it.
What new information is it that you have that you can't seem to make sense of?
Why would James want to get out of the country?
Just, she just was saying things and being weird.
But why would...
I think for James, it was just a matter of, I gotta go because I am so stressed out, I'm gonna bust.
Enough to want to leave the country?
Yeah.
Without you? And Grace?
Yeah. I could see myself doing that.
You all had a meeting with the church, and James discloses that there's a physical altercation between Marie and himself. Why wouldn't he tell us about all of that? No, ma'am, we only talked to him one time when Investigator Motz came to your house. That's the only time.
And told him everything that needed to be said.
You don't think a physical altercation between Marie and James was important?
Yeah, see, because those are the very things that you guys will turn into exactly what you turn into.
It's not turning anything into anything, Tanya. It's what happened, and we have questions for you all that we can't have answered unless we talk to you.
Well, you just got a whole bunch of answers, didn't you?
Tanya is the protector of James. Her job in James's life is damage control. She's making sure that she plugs all of the holes in his dam.
Well, I thank you for your time. And I didn't mean to upset you, Tanya. I'm sorry.
Well, you knew that was going to happen whenever you called.
Well,
it's fine. You can do your pleasantries the way that you need to do them. I know that you have to. And I'm not going to say that it's okay.
All right, Tanya. Bye.
She controls everything.
Be good, lengthy phone call with Tanya.
Great.
Where is James now?
He says he's at the hospital with his father.
His father is dying.
And Nestle, you're worried about looking like a cold-hearted bitch calling him standing by his dying father's bedside.
Yes, ma'am. And I am not a cold-hearted person, so...
Well, I am. So I'm trying to figure how we can win from this situation.
Right.
What's your lieutenant say?
My thing is I'm juggling the weight of we would get beat up by a defense attorney about reaching out to him. However, I also don't want the state attorney to ask the question, well, you went all the way out there and didn't reach out to him. Why not?
Y'all decide what you want to do and just call us back and let us know your plan.
Yeah, we will.
Bye. I don't know. I understand why she's worried, but you're never going to get a better time than now with him. And if a defense lawyer picks on you for it, you say, we've been trying to get him to cooperate for 3.5 years.
The time is crucial now. I mean, what if he said, I'd really like to meet with you guys?
All right.
We're doing it. This is it.
Hi, this message is for James Flanders. This is Nestle Moore with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office.
I know it was hard for Nestle to call James while he's in the hospital with his dying dad.
He's not gonna call back.
But you gotta give her a lot of credit. She realized that it was a tough call to make, and she made it.
Well,
I think that sends a very clear message to them that the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department hadn't forgotten about Marie and that they will continue with this investigation until this case is resolved.
Okay, now that we've gotten everything put together, we now have at least 4 huge points. Abby and Nestle weren't able to speak with James, but that's okay. With everything that we've learned, we have a great circumstantial case against James Flanders for the murder of Marie Carlson. We know from a new witness that Marie told that witness, "I want James all to myself."
Marie wanted James.
Seeing you at church and knowing I can't kiss your lips drives me insane.
We find out that they were fighting over Marie wanting to raise the baby as well.
The husband and wife, they don't want Mary to stay there in the house.
He tells a witness, "We had a fight the last time I saw her."
He said that she got physical with him, like pushing, hitting, scratching, and that he had scratches on his chest.
And you add in those beautiful cell phone charts. We learned from cell phone records that Marie's phone and James's phone were both by their house when she allegedly sent the group text. But more importantly, James's phone was by the airport at the very moment when Marie's truck was left there.
Marie's phone never leaves Fort Walton Beach.
What do you think about taking this case to your state's attorneys?
I think we have a very strong case.
I think that this case deserves to be presented to them.
Well, y'all go present it to them, and Abby and I'll wait and hear what you have to say.
You ready, Keith?
I'm ready.
Good luck. So who's going to be there? Jeff, Rose, and Esther again?
I believe so. I can't wait to talk to them about what we've done this week.
We learned a lot this week that will strengthen this case. But learning for sure that Marie is no longer alive is the harsh reality that comes when you deal with a missing persons case.
Hello again, my dear.
And that's really hard to tell a family that the miracle they're looking for, that their loved one is going to come home, is not going to happen.
So we met with the state attorney's office today and presented the case back to them with the new information we gained. They've agreed to reevaluate the case and can't promise anything, but this is a step forward. I'm hopeful, so you should be hopeful. Okay?
Okay. What developed this week is good. And every witness has been talked to. New witnesses have turned up. All the questions have been asked. The sad reality, though, is that we have to tell you Marie is never coming home.
Today, I wanted a miracle answer, but
we're never going to stop, Esther. You know that. We want to give Marie justice, and we want it for her, but we want it most for y'all.
I do believe my sister, Marie, is going to get justice. We're going to get it. I don't know when, but I know it's coming.
All right, you got to stop crying. Come here.
There's nothing I appreciate more than y'all doing this. She's always going to have a place in my heart. You know, she's the mother of my child. But you have to let the dead be the dead. And you have to live your life. Thanks, Dennis.
November the 5th, 1981, Laverne Mackey said goodbye to her 13-year-old daughter, Kelly, as she headed off to school. When Kelly returned home from school later that day, her mother was gone. It's been 33 years, and wherever Laverne went, she's never come back.
we have another case from 1981. This is back when we were graduating, darling, so...
Graduated from high school.
Yeah. This is old case.
Watch how you phrase that.
Her daughter and her husband are the last to have seen her. She's a Christian woman, really big into her church, very family-oriented.
Missing persons cases are the toughest because your biggest piece of evidence, the person themselves, is gone. You're left with so many questions. If Laverne ran away, where did she go? Why, and why hasn't anyone seen her? And if she was murdered 33 years ago, how are we going to prove it?
The sad thing about this case is that poor little 13-year-old girl. Her mom allegedly leaves her one day and never comes back, and she had to grow up her whole life without her mom.
I know.
The longer a case is cold, the harder it is to solve. And this case is not cold, it's frozen. We need to figure out what happened to Laverne and get her family answers. I just hope it's not too late.
It has been 16 years and still no answers.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims. Let's go, sunshine.
Let's do it. Hey!
How you doing? I'm Sergeant Phil Lakin.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you, Yolanda. Kelly, Sergeant Phil Lakin.
Hi, I'm George Loigren.
Nice to meet you.
I've been a cop for 30 years. I put 110% into all of my cases as if I was dealing with my own family as victims. I've always treated everybody right.
How many of you guys work here?
In our department, we have 500 total sworn count in detention.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
And how about cold cases?
Cold cases, we have Randy and George. They're our cold case guys right there.
We're dealing with a 33-year-old investigation with a missing person. When you deal with the family of the victims, it's very tough.
Okay, show us our room.
Thank you. Let's go.
Well, Mr. Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
We've asked Steve Spingola to join us this week because we don't have a lot of witnesses here. So the few that we do have, we're going to need all of his help on. How'd y'all get that picture, guys? That's a nice picture.
Our daughter Kelly had some wedding pictures.
Does Kelly look like her? Can you tell?
Yes, she does.
Who wants to start with telling us about Laverne?
Well, Laverne had 2 children, Kelly and Brian. She's a devout church woman. She had gotten divorced from her ex-husband, Larry Wallace, who's since deceased. And she was attending Curlew Baptist Church, where she had gone for many years. It was a prison ministry coming in every week for church. Well, she meets Merrill Mackey in there, thinks he's a nice guy. Within a few weeks, they're married.
Is he good looking? Was he good looking?
And one of his ex-wives said he's quite charming, knows how to show a girl a good time, so.
Okay. When Laverne met Merle, he had been in trouble with law enforcement because of numerous white-collar crimes, including larceny, theft, and forging checks. But despite his past, Laverne still saw the good in him and married him after he was released from prison. George, can you tell us about the day that she went missing?
November 5th, 1981, Kelly got up that morning to go to school. About 3 p.m. that day, Merle shows up at school to pick her up. She asks about Mom, and Merle says, hey, listen, your uncle up in Indiana, your Uncle Kenny, his wife is sick or family's sick, so Mom flew up to go take care of family. The next couple of days, she calls up her Uncle Kenny up in Indiana, and Kenny tells her, I haven't spoken to your mother in like a month. There's no one sick here. What are you talking about? So then Kelly goes and confronts Merle. So Merle tells him, listen, I don't want to tell you, but your mother ran off with another man. You can either stay with me or go back and live with your biological father.
It's suspicious that Merle lied to Kelly about where her mother went. But if Laverne did just pack up and run away from her family, that's difficult news to deliver to a 13-year-old girl. And Merle was an ex-con, so his first instinct might have been to make up a story without considering the repercussions.
Okay, so let's start off with missing question mark, okay? First obvious one is no body found. What else can y'all think of?
You know he's a con man. You want out.
If Laverne found out that Merle was committing crimes again, she may not have wanted anything to do with him and probably would have been embarrassed that she began to trust him again.
She ran off with another man, found another man.
Well, she did marry him kind of fast, so maybe she met somebody else.
How about suicide? She runs away and kills herself.
There are plenty of reasons that Laverne might have run away, and we're going to need to address every possibility. But if she was murdered, there is only one suspect in any of our minds. So this is our picture of Merle, huh? He looks like an intelligent guy. What do y'all want to start with?
Last person to see her.
And the only one to see her when he's confronted.
Every single thing Merle has done in his whole life and in his prior criminal history is motivated by money.
There is something to go back on that day, Kelly, the bank accounts.
Immediately after Laverne disappeared, there was a series of withdrawals from her checking account, which both she and Merle had access to.
If you look at their bank accounts, I think they did have a large sum of money in there.
But there's no way to tell which one of them withdrew the funds.
Of course, it can go that she did it because she's running, but it also could be because he's murdered her and he wants to get that money out of that account.
Was Laverne getting money out to help her leave town? Or did Merle kill her and waste no time cashing in on her death?
So we know we're dealing with a 33-year-old case. The other thing is trying to see if we can get enough evidence or witnesses to shore up premeditation. With a case this cold, the statute of limitations has run out for second-degree murder, which is deliberate. So if Laverne was killed, we're going to need to prove that it was first-degree murder, which requires premeditation. We have to focus on premeditation here to even get to where we need to be. That's a huge hurdle in an already difficult case. Of course, if she simply ran away, then there's no crime. It's just a very sad story. Either way, her family needs answers. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be Laverne's daughter and have your mom just one day disappear. Probably the only thing worse would be to never know why.
How cute is that?
Hey, Kelly. How you doing, huh?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Hi, Kelly. Yolanda.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Kelly also.
Hi, Kelly.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're excited to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Walk us through that day.
To be honest, the only thing about that day that stands out to me was that Merle picked me up at school.
Which had never happened before.
No. And I remember his exact words were, well, I just took your mom and put her on the Big Bird. And I was like, what? And he said, I took her to the airport. He said that my uncle was sick in Indiana and that she had to go up and help take care of him. Now, of course, being older and wiser, red flags would go off. It's like, okay, we don't have a phone. How did anybody call her and tell her?
Why didn't y'all have a phone?
I don't know.
I lived in a little town too in 1981. We all had phones.
Yeah.
Did there come a time or a day where you kind of reconciled yourself to the idea that your mom wasn't ever coming back?
Yeah, and I think that happened a long time ago.
When?
I would say probably in my early 20s.
How do you deal with that? You know, your mom left when you were so young and you want to think what?
It's more what ifs. I have a son who never knew his grandma.
How about Brian?
He's handled it a little differently. I think very, I don't know honestly how to describe. He's just very cold to it.
So at that time, he was 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wasn't living at home then. It was like the day he turned 18, Merle kicked him out of the house.
According to Merle, Brian was stealing money, and that was the driving force behind getting rid of Brian because he was a thief.
No, not at all.
We knew Merle was a con, but it's sad to think that he may have conned Laverne into kicking her son Brian out of their house. But the real question is why?
Well, we're gonna start working, start talking to everybody that George can think of, and you know, the minute he can tell you something, he'll be ringing your phone.
I'll be waiting.
All right, give us a good luck hug.
Absolutely.
Oh, hopefully we'll have something.
Oh, I hope so. It's been 33 years of not knowing what happened to my mom. So to have all of this happening now is giving me hope. To have closure would be wonderful.
We're in Hernando County, Florida, investigating the mysterious 1981 disappearance of Laverne Mackey. We believe she was either killed by her husband, Merle, or she possibly ran away.
These are the kind of cases that get me worked up. It's a lady living in a small town who is raising her children by herself.
Right.
And a new man comes into their world, which does not happen very often when you live in a small town. That's what happened with my mom. And they marry him because they want a man and they want a family. Even though the guys are losers and jerks, they stick with them. My mom married my stepdad in a small town, and he might not have been an ex-con, but he was worthless, just like Merle. Of course, just because Merle was an ex-con doesn't mean he's a killer, which is why the first thing that our team has to investigate is whether or not Laverne really did just run away.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you fine.
Okay, wonderful.
We wanted to talk to you and see what information you had that you could help us out.
Okay, I hope I can help.
When Laverne Mackey went missing in 1981, Merle gives custody of Kelly to her biological father and his wife, Garland. Kelly's biological father has passed away since 1981 when this incident occurred, and if Laverne did run away, Garland may be able to help us in establishing why that occurred.
We went, Larry and I, to the house. So we packed Kelly's things, and Mom was there. It didn't look like anything had been moved or packed. You know how a woman, when she goes away, especially if it's for a while, she takes all of her cosmetics, and that wasn't the case. Did not look that anybody had packed to go anywhere.
You'd have thought if Laverne would have run away, she'd have taken her cosmetics and other essential items, but she didn't. Laverne either left in a hurry or she didn't run away at all.
Hello?
Hi, can I speak with William Estes, please?
This is he?
Mr. Estes, my name is George Lloydgren. I'm a detective in the Hernando County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
We're having an investigation on a missing person case involving Laverne Mackey.
Laverne was a very religious lady. She was active in her church and really close to her pastor. There was even a rumor she wanted to become a missionary. If Laverne ever confided that she was thinking about leaving town for any reason, her pastor might know.
What can you tell me about her as a person?
She was pretty regular coming in attendance.
Did she appear to be a caring, loving mother to her children? Was she a responsible person?
Yeah, she seemed to be pretty much interested in the family.
Was there any issues with her mentally? Was she depressed or had any problems with maybe suicide or thoughts of that?
Not that I ever heard.
Did she ever mention to you anything about maybe wanting to be a missionary and leave her children and go off to...
No, I never heard that.
Well, all right, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that is a proper Southern gentleman.
Don't most men in the South send their wives and their kids to church and they stay home?
Watch football.
I don't know, I'm from the North.
I'm Kelly. Nice to meet
I'm
you.
Muriel Touchton.
Muriel Touchton has known Laverne since they were little girls together, so she knew Laverne way before Laverne ever met Merle. Hopefully she can tell us about their relationship and more importantly, whether or not Laverne ever wanted out.
Where did you know Laverne from?
I've known Laverne ever since we was in 7th, 8th grade, something like that.
Did she seem like the type of person that would just up and leave or just walk away without giving her kids notice?
There is no way she would leave her kids without, no.
Prior to her marrying Mackey, you would get together with her how often? Weekly, daily?
At least weekly, sometimes during the week. But
Once she married Merle, did that stop?
that sure did.
Huh? Did you ever talk to her about that? I mean, was that him or?
That was him.
That was him?
Didn't want nobody to talk to her, to be honest with you.
According to Muriel, Merle kept Laverne from her friends, and we know that he kicked her son Brian out of the house under the false pretenses that Brian was stealing. It sounds like Merle was trying to isolate Laverne from every single person that cared for her.
Do you remember having a confrontation with Merle at church?
Yes, I do.
Let me read what you said back then. It says, well, Merle confronted me at church,
Yeah.
and he told me to keep my big mouth shut because I had asked where Laverne was.
That's right.
And he literally told me that it was none of my business. Laverne was fine. All I was doing was asking where she was at.
That's right.
But he wasn't talking to you in a nice, calm way, was he?
No, he wasn't.
How was he talking to you?
He was mad. Let's just put it like that.
And all you were doing was trying to find out what happened to your friend.
Yes, right.
So why would he be so mad about that?
Because I think he had something to do with it.
Okay, y'all, let's see where we are now. According to witnesses, Laverne never packed any personal items before she disappeared. She wasn't depressed, and she showed no signs of wanting to run away. Laverne would have never left her children, and she would have never left Kelly with a man like Merle. It is clear that this is no longer a missing persons case. This is a murder.
I think what happened with this particular case was Merle, when the investigator showed up and started questioning him, he did such a good job of selling the fact that she ran off with somebody else. They actually took that as fact, I believe. And it wasn't until he started telling different stories did they sense something was up.
Merle gave various excuses to the police for Laverne's disappearance. Well, didn't it change from left to help her brother to left to help his sick children?
To help with the kids because she was sick.
Right, the mother was sick.
That's good because he's changing the whole reason why she's leaving, including she was taking care of a sick relative, that she had ran off with another man, and that she was going off on a missionary trip.
The one thing that is consistent over 30 years is Merle has given inconsistent statements to everybody. He lies every time he opens his mouth.
And now, with all that we've learned, plus Merle's inconsistent stories, we have strong circumstantial evidence to prove that he killed Laverne. What about the two detectives that got all those great statements out of Merle?
They're both deceased. Captain Batten is deceased, and John Jordan is deceased.
Suspect statements are only admissible in court if the police officers are alive to be cross-examined. Oh, shit. We have been relying on that testimony, and now that they've passed away, so is a huge piece of evidence in this case. You know, the problem with all this is that it was already going to be hard because it's 33 years old. That's one of the oldest cases any of us have ever worked on. And then when you throw in there that your law requires premeditation to get past the statute of limitations, it makes it pretty difficult. Now we're going to have Merle himself to prove up those old inconsistencies in order to establish that he's the one who killed Laverne. On top of that, we're still going to have to prove premeditated first-degree murder to get past the statute of limitations. I honestly don't know how we're going to close this case.
We're in Hernando County, Florida, trying to prove Merle Mackey murdered his wife, Laverne. So we're headed to the last place anyone saw her alive, a remote trailer they moved to shortly before she went missing. Why remove her somewhere else? Put her there where you won't be caught with a body. But that's a lot of land to cover.
Yeah, it's a proverbial needle in the haystack.
Police have already searched the property for Laverne's body, but came up empty. Today we want to check out the trailer itself. If it's our crime scene, we want to test for any traces of Laverne's blood. After 33 years, it's a long shot that we'll find anything, but we need to be thorough. Otherwise, at trial, a defense team could argue we didn't investigate every possibility. Current owner bought it in '89.
Yes.
And has had it all these years.
He lived in what's left of this mobile home, and then it became inhabited by raccoons. And
So they're not happy either.
no.
Because you took away their home right now.
Yeah, they're probably not too happy right now.
Morning.
Director Tim Whitfield, Yolanda McClary.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
So our hope is to look underneath the original flooring, because we know that there's a possibility that he cleaned up.
We have 3 layers of flooring. We have 2 layers of the sticky back tile and then 1 layer of linoleum. We're going to examine each layer to see if there's any evidence that blood may have been there, whether it been cleaned up or not.
Okay.
Looks like I'll have the easy side.
That one is stuck far worse under the cabinet here. They dig a little.
I got a 2-for-1 here.
If we find one trace of Laverne's blood, it easily could be explained as coming from a cut she got in the kitchen or the bathroom. But many blood hits in several places might suggest this is where her murder occurred. Do you want us to start bringing these out? Because this section's done.
This is from the kitchen area.
Watching the team swab these tiles for blood is like watching a lottery drawing. Except for you don't want a number, you want that little swab to turn pink. But so far, it's not looking too good.
Hey, Tim. George, too. There's a little bit of blood right by the sink on the ground. On top of the tile.
By the sink, right?
By the sink.
All right, excellent.
All right. All of a sudden, pink. Which means there's blood by the sink in the kitchen.
Have you been getting any other hits, Angelique?
That one has blood on it. This one.
In all, we got 25 positive hits for blood. From the kitchen and the bathroom. Of course, these tests are presumptive, and we don't know whose blood it is. So we're gonna send the swabs to the lab for definitive results.
We're only going to go 1 mile. We're going to take the exit towards Sunset Point Road.
What did we ever do before smart
I don't know. If we're ever going to get to a first-degree murder conviction, we have to prove premeditation. For that, we have to show that Merle had a conscious intent to kill and took steps prior to Laverne's murder to plan it or get away with it.
Mr. Truelock, I wanted to pick your brain and kind of go back all the way as far as you can remember and just kind of give me an idea how this all unfolded with you.
Charles Truelock is Laverne's brother, and he's the one that gave her financial advice when she married Merle. We know that Merle had access to Laverne's checking account, but what we need to learn is if he made any other arrangements regarding her finances prior to her murder.
I was out of the country. I got back home, they'd suddenly married. It seemed like a rush deal.
I got you. How long were you out of the country?
I was only out 10 days.
Oh, so it was a rush deal.
Yeah, it was a rush deal. But so one day, she said, Merle wants me to change the deed on this house from just my name to him and I. One of the stories that he had come up with, he said, you know, I'm sick and I have a cancer condition and I'm not going to live a long time. And if we change this around, we'll have insurance. And when I die, you'll have this house and it'll be paid for. I said, Laverne, I said, you change it and then you don't like the situation. I said, you can't change it back.
Merle convinced Laverne to add him to the deed on her house by saying when he died of his terminal cancer, his life insurance would pay off her house. But instead, Laverne disappears, and Merle got all of the money from the sale of the house she owned from her first marriage, along with all of the money in her bank account. And Merle never had cancer. It was all a lie to get to her money. That sure as heck sounds like planning to me.
Then they sold their home, took her up to your way there and sequestered her away. Didn't have a telephone up there. He wouldn't have a telephone put in. Eventually, he said, well, she left.
Are you telling me from the time they moved up to Hernando County, you never heard from her again?
No, I did not. There's no doubt in my mind that he either directly or indirectly caused my sister to be killed. I might mention to you that it caused me, on a personal level, a great deal of heartache. Had lots of restless nights.
It's clear that Merle physically isolated Laverne from all of her friends by getting her to move to a remote trailer and wouldn't even let her have access to a telephone. He manipulated his way into her finances and removed any and all threats to his control by kicking her own son Brian out of their house. All of those were steps that he took before her murder. But we're gonna need more. We need to track down all the women in Merle's past. We need to establish that he has a pattern of domestic abuse. Then what he did to Laverne wasn't unique, it was his MO. And that could help us prove premeditation. As y'all go start talking to all these witnesses, every time you talk to one, you're not just trying to see what they remember, if they know about the act of the murder, or Merle make an admission. We're looking for little bitty pieces that get us to premeditation. And every woman you can find who says he did the same kind of thing to her shows that pattern of how he gets them off to themselves.
All right, great. Bye.
Bye.
We just got the results back from the lab on the blood samples we collected from Laverne and Merle's trailer where we think she was killed. Now it's time to tell Kelly and Detective Williamson the news.
Detective Williamson.
Okay, just got some results back from the lab. All the tiles that came back with a positive for blood with the presumptives done at the scene. They went to the lab and came up negative for Laverne's blood. It's not her, and it's not going to help us, guys.
Okay.
It was always a long shot, but now we know for sure there's no physical evidence to support that Laverne was killed in that trailer.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
We've always known that this case wasn't going to be solved by forensics. Right now, we need to focus on proving premeditation. For that, we need to find evidence that Merle had a pattern of abusing women, financially and emotionally.
Lori remembers Merle Mackey. She can shed a little light on what kind of girl Merle was.
Merle's next wife after Laverne was Eloise. However, she passed away over a decade ago.
Well, this is Yolanda. She's helping us out when we're all working together in the investigation.
Eloise had a daughter, and she may be able to tell us if Merle attempted to manipulate her just as Merle did with Laverne.
My dad saw him and he didn't like him.
Really? Why?
I mean, he never had a job. My mom worked, but he didn't.
In the short time that you were around Merle, and when your mom was with him, did he seem to be a controlling person?
She had to ask him if she could go places. She'd say, do you mind if I go with Lori to the store? You know, like she was asking.
Was she like that with your father?
No.
Do you know any of your mother's friends at the time?
I know it's going to sound... She didn't have many friends, you know what I'm saying? They never had people, you know, like you would go out with a group of friends. They never did that.
Okay.
They were like always together by themselves.
Merle continued to try to control women and make money the easy way. Eloise's story helps build our case, but we still need more. Virginia Whitehead is another one of Merle's ex-wives. She was smart enough to leave him. And we need to find out what drove her to do so.
How long were you married to Merle for?
Just barely over a year.
And why did you guys get divorced or separated?
because he was a sorry, no good something.
Okay. Was it true you had researched some of the property you owned? Didn't you own?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he'd been to the courthouse and all that and had papers, and all of that stuff. He was just so sneaky.
Without her consent or knowledge, Virginia found out that Merle was attempting to get his name placed onto her property titles and deeds. And this is a trick that Merle did with Laverne and was successful in doing it.
Did he also want to be put on your checking account? Or have a checking account with you? Or?
He wanted to, and he opened a checking account in mine and his name, but I never did do nothing with his checking account, and I never would put him on mine.
Did he ever talk to you anything about life insurance or anything?
One time he brought it up and wanted to take an insurance policy out on me and wanted me to take one out on him. I had insurance, and I had it made out to my kids, and I said, no, I don't need it.
Was Merle a controlling kind of guy?
He'd get kind of nasty every now and then, whenever I'd be late from work, or if I was, like spend too much time with the kids. And he'd done a lot of things to my kids, especially my son, and I said I wasn't going to have that. He just didn't like Jeff being at the house.
Merle tried to isolate Virginia from her children, especially her son, just as he did with Laverne, and was subsequently able to get Laverne's son, Brian, kicked out of the house.
How about if you had any friends come over or anything to the house?
Oh, it got so the friends wouldn't even come.
In examining the fact pattern of Merle's life here, he clearly marries these women, isolates them, financially drains them, which is a pattern we've seen before.
You knew Laverne, didn't you, from church?
Yeah.
And how long
I
you
knew
know?
her before I met him.
What did Merle tell you happened to Laverne?
He just said she went to see her brother and I don't know where, somewhere's up north, and she never come back. That's what he told me.
He was quite the crafty character, huh?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I apologized to my kids more and more times what I put them through when I was with him.
What do you think happened to Laverne?
I think he done away with her.
So let's just focus on what we do have up here. With Merle's similar manipulation and isolation tactics that he used on other women, we can make a strong argument for premeditation, which would get you to first-degree murder. The case is looking good, but to move it forward, we still need that key piece of evidence back. Merle's old inconsistencies about what he says happened to Laverne. And there's only one person left we can get them from, and that's Merle. It's time to track him down. So you already met the people from the Henderson County Sheriff's Office, huh, Bill?
I did. They were real gracious.
Let's go head over to Merle's house, you think?
Absolutely.
We tracked down our suspect, Merle Mackey, to a small town in Texas. Local authorities tell us that he's been making a living pretending to be a wounded warrior veteran at gun shows, scamming people out of donations.
Well, I certainly didn't expect it to be this cold here.
No, for you, that's going to be a real culture shock.
Oh, this is culture shock.
Hey, Steve.
Steve, good to see you. Good morning.
What y'all's plan? What you thinking?
I want to close this case. And before we can close it, since he was the last person that saw her alive, what we have is some old transcripts of him. I need to go through those with him.
I like that. I
just need to go through with them and get a video recording of you walking through these, and then we're going to be able to close this case, Merle, which he will be happy once he's agreed that's all true. He said all of that stuff. Then I'm going to start pointing out the inconsistencies of his interviews, and then we're going to start working.
That's all gravy after that. Whatever y'all get to say after you get him to agree to the transcripts, I'm happy with it. But we got to get him to agree to those transcripts.
That's enough.
All right. Well, good luck. All right.
Be nice to just finish it off, and obviously I'm living in a perfect world right this moment in my brain that not only we have him and he brings us to our body and we have...
Well, you are an optimistic fella there, George.
Well, I'm hoping for the best, After 30 years of busting my ass, I think I'm owed some breaks here or there, and I call in my markers, especially in important cases like this where the loss of somebody's life and a whole family hurting and not having their mother and their sister and grandchildren have their grandmother around because this selfish son of a bitch took her away from her family.
There's more people out here than I thought there'd be.
Yeah.
We may only get one shot at this. When the police are looking for a suspect, word travels fast. And Merle has fled the police in the past.
This one right here with the van?
It looks like the carport's empty. There's a van there, but it looks like there's a car gone.
van, but no car.
It's locked up tight. That's quite a lock on that front door.
Holy mama.
I've never seen one done like that.
Think this guy's a little paranoid? Michael Jackson syndrome or what?
He's the kind of guy that would lock it up tight just to go to town.
Maybe he's getting his Geritol or something, huh?
There's a guy checking us out.
And I hope this guy doesn't know Merle.
So they think he could be playing slots. He could be drinking coffee at the Dairy Queen. He could be doing something like that on a Friday morning. Let's just hope he didn't go to Dallas for a gun show. Since Merle's been scamming people at gun shows, we're thinking that's where he might be. But those witnesses would know about all the gun shows in the area. There's a lot of gun shows back home in Texas, and finding him at one of those is going to be really hard. There are a couple of wounded warrior veterans who live nearby that have caught Merle scamming in the past.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Sergeant Phil Lakin.
George Logren, how are you, sir? Nice to meet you.
They might know which one he's trying to hit up today.
You want to see a picture of the car he's driving?
I'd love to see a picture of the car he's driving. Yes, sir.
He always goes to these gun shows put on by this guy in Oklahoma.
You have a copy of like the upcoming gun shows?
Yeah, let me make a copy.
Excellent.
There's one in Canton.
When is that one? Is that going on this weekend?
Yeah, it's going on this week.
Really?
Be there.
How far away is Canton?
It's like a half hour, right, you said?
There's a gun show in Canton, Texas, about 40 miles away.
He's probably got a handicap spot up front. I can't see him walking anywhere when he's gonna pull his disabled bullshit.
Kelly, Phil, Randy, and I are going to keep eyes on Merle's trailer, while Steve and George head to the show to try to locate Merle.
We've heard that Merle rides an electric scooter and tries to pass himself off as a disabled vet. I came up with the term of scooter scammer, and so we'll be on the lookout for Merle. George, I think that's him over there. So we see this old man on a scooter, and suddenly he takes off on us. And here I am chasing a 70-year-old guy on a scooter that I can't catch because he's got a battery that can outrun me. Elderly guy, probably hard of hearing. Me, an old guy, hard of running, and I couldn't catch up to him, so it was kind of embarrassing. I've chased a lot of suspects on foot in patrol cars.
Steve.
To chase down an old man in a scooter is a first for me.
Is that him?
Sir, your name isn't Merle, is it? No? You know a guy named Merle? Mackey? No? Thanks a lot.
So Merle's not at the gun show.
That was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And the next day we checked different locations in town, and again, no sign of him.
No, he's still not here.
He's still locked up.
Yeah.
And the following day we can't find him either, no matter how hard we look. It's been 3 days, and so far there's no sign of Merle anywhere. He either got word that we were looking for him and slithered out of town, or he's very lucky right now.
Well, Steve, I'd like to say it's been real fun working with you, but unfortunately, all I can say is it's been real fun hanging out.
Be a lie. Wouldn't be the first lie.
So this has been a bust so far. We haven't been able to find Merle anywhere in Texas. Right now, we need the Henderson County Sheriff's Department to keep eyes on Merle's home while we head back to Florida, and hopefully they'll locate him, and they'll be able to let us know if and when he returns.
We did everything we could on this case, and it breaks my heart because now we got to go see Kelly, and we just haven't gotten there yet because we can't find Merle.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi. Kelly. Hi.
It's good to see you.
You too.
Thank you for meeting us so early.
You're welcome.
Well, we've been busy.
Yeah, after we saw you, we interviewed a lot of people here, local. Unfortunately, we didn't get a hold of Merle.
Without an interview from Merle, we are missing a huge piece of this case before we can present it to the state's attorney. So right now, this case is in limbo until we can find Merle. And I also want you to know that I'm talking to you feeling like I'm talking to myself, because what happened to you could have happened to me with my situation growing up with my stepdad. Back in 1981, when someone committed a murder that was an intentional murder as opposed to a premeditated murder, the statute of limitations is either 3 or 4 years. The case with premeditation is difficult. They're going to keep working this angle, but it's a really, really hard thing to expect to happen.
I appreciate all of their passion that they have put into this. It's, you know, there's always hope. There's always hope.
It was wonderful to meet you.
Well,
I wish we could give you better
all you've done.
Better news. It's like, well, I hope that someday Kelly and Brian do get the justice that they deserve.
I'll be talking to you soon, okay?
And if that day never comes, I hope that Kelly can at least take comfort in the fact that she did all that she could and that her mother would have never left her.
All right, Kelly.
Bye.
It's been a few weeks since we left Florida and we're on another case.
Jim Jones in this at all.
But I hear the Henderson County Sheriff's Department in Texas located Merle. So George and Randy flew to Texas to talk to him. Randy, what happened? This is Kelly.
We ended up grabbing him. We took him down to the Mount Pleasant Police Department. We put him in an interview room. The first 5.5 hours was just walking him through the interview. He said, yeah, I remember this, I remember that. Then I'd have him elaborate on each one of them and walk him all through everything that you might like it out, all the way through the interviews.
Great.
He admitted to all. He admitted to it all. And I basically told him the gig was up. And how do you know I killed her if you don't have a body? And he would never confess to murder. And I told him, I don't want you to confess. I just want to know where her body is. And he finally drops his shoulders and goes, all right, I'll tell you. It bothered me for 33 years. And he goes on to tell me how he took her fishing that day. She fell on the dock, hit the side of her head, fell over in the water. He reached down and got her out, and her head was pumping real hard. He didn't get her out. He just turned her over, and her mouth was full of water, and she wasn't breathing. He went ahead and tied a rope around her and an anchor and pushed her up onto the dock.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic because, you know, we were kind of not optimistic about the case, so y'all did it, guys. Way to go. You now have Merle acknowledging that before his very eyes, Laverne is dying, which he's never said before. When a suspect makes an admission this late in the game, on top of all those other lies, it just makes you go, oh, wow, what an idiot, and thank you, because it's
Cô tăng lên nhiệt độ lên 22 độ rồi bảo sao